This is episode 7 of the Patriot Podcast. My name is Hannah Kiefer. My co-hosts today are
Sophie Vu,
Amirah Bacon,
Kensley Hatley. Today we will be interviewing Major Weaver. He is our C3 lead learner, Miss Weaver's husband, and he is a B-52 navigator and currently a SAS student in the Air Force.
Hey guys, thank you for having me here.
What branch of the military are you in?
I am in the Air Force.
How long have you served in the military?
I joined and I started training in January of 2009, and I finished training in April of 2009. So it's been over 14 years now.
What is your rank?
I'm a major.
What is a call sign?
A call sign is, it's like a nickname, like if your friends ever call you like a shortened version of your name or like a silly name, but it's a way for a squadron, so a squadron is like a class, that's where we work. It's a way for a squadron to kind of welcome you into the group, let you know you belong.
What is your call sign?
Mine is Fever. That's my call sign.
What is your job in the Air Force?
I am a B-52 navigator. So B-52 is a very large bomber, a navigator. So I'm in charge of getting the plane to where it goes. So I tell the pilot where to fly, how fast to fly. But a navigator in a B-52 is also in charge of all the weapons. So I'm in charge of dropping all the bombs and all the missiles it can carry.
What is the coolest place you've traveled?
That would be probably... this little tiny island in the Indian Ocean called Diego Garcia. Civilians are not allowed there. It's a very small island, and there are wild crabs and wild donkeys on the island.
Oh, nice.
Really
Cool.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest animal you've seen?
It would actually be on Diego Garcia. It's called a coconut crab. It is a crab. The body is about that big, so about the size of a basketball. And the claws are about the same size as my hand. They can actually climb trees and eat birds out of trees.
Okay.
Because they eat coconuts with those big old crab claws.
What do you love about your job?
I love flying. I love doing a job that's really important for our country. And I love the opportunities it lets me have of traveling and meeting different people.
Is your job fun?
It is. It's very fun. I get to fly all the time when I'm actually flying. We get to stay in the air for 24, 27 hours. We can fly anywhere in the world in a day or two. And dropping bombs and seeing things blow up is a lot of fun.
Seriously. What skills and training do you have to do your job?
Well, so to be an officer, I had to go to college. So I had to finish high school, and then I had to go to college for 4 years. And to fly, so to either be a pilot or a navigator, you have to go to college and you have to be an officer. And then you have to go to training. So if you're a pilot, you have to go to pilot training or navigator training, which takes about a year and a half. And then you have to go to another year of training in your specific airplane. So it took me about 2.5 years just to get trained in my airplane to do my job. And then after that, you go to all kinds of classes to not only stay sharp on your job, but also to learn how to be a better officer and a better leader.
Do you have to study?
A lot. Right now, I'm in a class where I read a book a day. So a big, thick book about the size of these books right here. We have to read one of those every day.
Seriously, that's so much reading.
It is a lot, and that's just for the course I'm in now. When you're actually flying, you constantly have to study to make sure that you are, because the airplanes are complicated, there's lots of rules, so you always have to be studying. But you're doing something you love, and the studying is a lot of fun.
That's good. If you weren't in the Air Force, what job would you like to do?
Well, I actually originally went to school to be a lawyer. I changed my mind at the last minute and decided to do the military. So I imagine that if I hadn't done the military, I probably would have went to law school.
Is your job dangerous?
It is. Flying in the military. Flying is very safe normally, but in the military, we typically do pretty risky things. I have flown a little bit in combat, but I know friends who've been shot at. And I've had, unfortunately, a couple people I know pass away in aircraft accidents. So it's a risky business, and that's even when we're not at war. If we're ever to go at war, then it would be an incredibly dangerous business.
Well, is one of the risky things you do you fly in storms?
So we actually have very specific rules about where we can with storms. So we actually have the ability to look at a storm and see if it's just rain or if there's actually like lightning. So if it's just rain, we can fly through that, no problem. But if there's lightning, we have to stay away from that.
Because lightning can be bad.
Lightning, if it hits your airplane, can be pretty bad.
Yep.
Do you get to travel around the world?
I do. When I was flying, I got to go to Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. I went to Guam, which is closer to China than it is to the United States. In this program I am right now, last September we got to go to Paris. That was pretty cool. And then just 2 weeks ago, we got back from Florida, where we got to see where they launch all like the space shuttles and the space rockets. And then we did a few days in Hawaii. So we travel a lot.
Have you been stationed overseas?
No. So stationed overseas is when you actually live overseas for like a year or two. I have not done that.
Have you been deployed?
I have. So we have long deployments, and then we have shorter ones, which are usually for like a few weeks or a week. Those are called TDYs. I've been TDY all over the world for deployments, actually like long stretches of time. I've been to Guam twice, and I've been to this little tiny base, not very tiny anymore, in the Middle East called Aidid in Qatar, and I was there for about 7 months. Yeah, Qatar. Yeah, it's a pretty fun place, but it's in the middle of the desert. So.
Is there Qatars there?
They're called Qataris. That's the name of the people that live there. Yeah.
What was your longest deployment?
It was to Qatar. I was there for basically 200 days. So I was away from Mrs. Weaver and my kids for about 200 days. But people do longer. Some people do up to a year or more. So deployments can be a long time.
Do you get any breaks at work?
Well, when I'm in normal work, normal work is just like an office job. So we get lunch, we can take breaks. When we're flying, there's usually no breaks, but flying is usually a lot of just sitting, waiting for things to happen. When I'm just doing an office job, it's a lot like any normal job. I get lunch and everything like that. But when we're flying, that's usually a little different because you can't just leave the airplane when it's in flight. You usually have to stay there the entire time.
Do you get days off on weekends?
Usually. I have worked a lot of weekends, though, and when you're deployed, you usually work 6-7 days a week. I have had to go in on weekends. I've had to fly on weekends. So normally you get them off, but you also, when you're in the military, you're usually on the call anytime. Normally you work 5 days a week. Some people work different hours. But a lot of times if there's something that he's doing, like flying or work, then you can go in on the weekends. But normally you get weekends and holidays off.
Do you participate in Mustache March in No Shape November?
My dad does.
So I do Mustache March. The Air Force, the military, they have rules on facial hair, so you normally can't have a beard or anything. But you can have a mustache. And I did have a mustache for Mustache March.
Yeah, some of my dad, he participates in that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Thank you to Major Weaver, Mrs. Weaver, Kensley, Hannah, Sophie, and Amirah for all their help for episode 7. See you next time. Bye.